So I'm going to be talking about the book Radical Candor. This is a book written by Kim Scott. She's a manager, was a manager at Google for a long time. She was a manager at Apple for a long time. She was a CEO coach at Dropbox and Twitter, and then she started her own company. So she's been a boss in a lot of different environments for a long time. She titles the book, Be a Kick-Ass Boss Without Losing Your Humanity. As Brandon said, I wouldn't get hung up too much on the boss part. There's so much good stuff from this book. It's just that's her experience, so that's the perspective she tells it in. But there's so much stuff that you can use from this. In fact, here's all the topics I wish to cover from this book. I took a ton of notes. I want to talk about radical candor here. I want to talk about this one, culture of collaboration and alignment. That idea, I think, can turn our tech radar around completely. Growth management and rock stars and superstars, and how most people here are either one of those categories at different times in our lives, and how growth management looks differently when we're in different modes. Career conversations and one-on-one conversations, she talked a lot about in this book, which overlaps with coaching quite a bit. I found a lot of useful things for both coaches and coachees from this book. So there's so much out of this book I really loved. However, I have maybe a little more than 8.5 minutes, so I'm only going to talk about radical candor, which is the basis of the book for all these other ideas to be successful on. So radical candor is about improvement. It's about being radically candid with each other to give each other feedback so we can grow as individuals, so our ideas can grow, so the products that we develop can get better. It's all about candidness so we can improve. But there's two things that it takes to be radically candid. We have to both care personally and challenge directly. I'll talk about these. Care personally means we have to actually give a damn about the person. Right? This is not just like, I care about everyone at Aperture. That's not true. This is to say, or that's not caring personally. This is to say we have to care deeply. Aperture. We have to care deeply about an individual. Right? We have to really acknowledge that each individual is unique. You have a unique history. You have aspirations and goals. There's a different path you all took to get here. You are complex, right? You have complex motivations. You have to really care about that stuff, want to care about that stuff, understand what all that is about the person, and then truly want what's best for them. Care personally isn't just, I care about them. It's to really care about someone. If we want to be radically candid so we can give them feedback so they can improve, we have to actually really care about them. That's the first step to be radically candid. The second is to challenge directly, which means we have to give direct feedback for improvement. We have to be able to tell someone directly what we think they could do better, how we interpreted what they did. Now, this is both praise and criticism. We can learn a lot from praise. Praise is not, you did a good job. That's not praise. Praise is specific. You did X to accomplish Y. So we can learn a lot from praise, and obviously we can learn a lot from criticism. And we need to be direct with that. We can't beat around the bush. We can't drop hints. We can't tell someone else about it. We've got to tell the person directly to be radically candid. And lastly, it needs to be immediate and frequent. Immediate means as soon as the event happened, give them feedback. She says the best time to give feedback is in the hallway, walk back to your desk after the meeting, after the event, after whatever happened, give that immediate feedback right then and there. And do it frequently, meaning multiple times a day. Not once a year, once a month, once a week. As soon as you can, give it frequently. Now, if we do this, if we give immediate, frequent, candid feedback, people will get angry with you. This is expected. Okay, this is understandable, right? I'm going to tell you how I think you can improve. I understand you're going to be angry. Empathize with that. They're a human being. Empathize. I get it. I'm not going to be mad at you because you're mad at me. But here's how I look at it. If it comes from a place of caring personally, and I want to really help you, there's a realistic reason I'm giving you this feedback. Help them through it. Don't relent. It's not about being mean, it's about being clear. So if we can care personally and challenge people directly, we could be radically candid. We can help them grow. But if we're not behaving in this way, we're behaving in one of three other ways, and I want to cover those so we can understand how we're not being radically candid and what that looks like. So this box here is if we challenge people directly, but we don't care personally about them. When someone's behaving this way, we generally call that person an asshole. Fairly obvious. She calls it obnoxious aggression, if you will, to be a little more polite. This is probably obvious what this looks like, but to give you an example, obnoxious aggression might look something like, hey, Charlie, hey, your fly's been down this whole meeting, man. It's pretty embarrassing. We all feel pretty uncomfortable. No one wanted to tell you. Why don't you take a minute to zip that up? Go ahead. We'll wait. I was direct. I told him what he needed to do. I told him, he could zip it up, told him how to do it. I gave him time and opportunity. I don't think I cared personally about him. He's unlikely to receive that feedback well. He's unlikely to take more of my feedback in the future. He might give me a little of his obnoxious aggression back to me. That's not a culture we want to build on. What if we care personally, but we don't challenge people directly? She calls this ruinous empathy. I care a lot about Charlie. I wish his fly wasn't down. I wish he didn't feel bad about it. But if I tell him, he's going to be embarrassed. He's going to be mad at me. I don't want him mad at me. I'd rather not say anything. It's more about me and how I look than giving him the opportunity to grow. Okay? Now, ruinous empathy is not always silence. It can be direct, or it can be verbal, not direct. It could be something like, Charlie, how'd lightning talks go today? Anything you can improve on? Nothing? How do you pick out what you wear for lightning talks? Is that a big event for you? All right, I tried. He's an idiot. That's not caring personally, but it's ruinous empathy. We're not doing what we need to do so people can improve. And the last one is, if you don't care personally and we don't challenge directly, she calls this manipulative insincerity. And this can come in a lot of different forms. This comes from talking behind someone's back, telling someone else their problems and telling them directly. But it can also be verbal to them. It could be something like, hey, Charlie, I really like how you ran lightning talks today, man. It went smoothly. You were dressed sharp the whole time. You were very funny. Keep it up. I want him to continue to look like an idiot, because the more he looks dumb, the better I look. You can be manipulative and insincere in a lot of different ways. But the only way to be most successful with feedback is if we can care personally and challenge directly. Now, I leave it to you to figure out what the best way to tell Charlie his fly is down in a radical candor way. It'll become useful. He does it all the time. However, I'll share you a different story from Kim Scott on what radical candor was and a good example for her. Kim Scott just had a very successful presentation at Google with some Google bigwigs. Pitched a new idea. They loved it. They ate it up. They're taking next steps on it. It's a huge success. She's walking back to her office with her manager. Her manager is praising her. You did a great job reading the room. You made sure everyone understood the topics before you moved on. Good work. Kim said, thank you. Her manager said, hey, did you know that you happen to say a lot? Kim said, yeah, I have noticed that, but it didn't really take anything away from my meeting. Right? They were able to understand all the topics. I was able to get my points across. I don't think it really hurt anything. Her manager said, you know, I used to say a lot. I went to a speech therapist and it was actually way easier to get over it than I thought. I still have their number. Would you like to call them? Kim said, well, thanks, I appreciate that. But you know, I had success back there. I'd rather just focus on what I did well. You know, I could hone in on what I did well, really repeat that, make that repeatable. I'd really like to just focus on the positives. Thanks, though. And her manager stopped walking in the middle of the hallway and looked at her and said, Kim, I don't think you understand. I'm going to be a little more direct. When you say so much, you sound really dumb. And it's not fair because I know how smart you are and I know how much you have to offer. But people don't take you that seriously. And I think you could get over it if you went to the speech therapist. Would you like to call them together? That's radical candor. It's not about being politically correct. It's not about saying the right thing for the right thing's sake. It's about caring personally about someone and challenging them directly so that they can improve. Now, I'm going to be honest. I don't think I can be radically candid with everyone in this company. I don't think I can care personally about 100 people. But I do think I can care personally about the people on my team, the people I work with, that I interact with, the people that I think I could give honest feedback to that could help. And I think if we can do that as a culture, if we can get radical candor going as a culture, we can accomplish some bigger things together. Some ideas might be, we might be able to eliminate the need for a complex feedback system if we can start being radically candid with each other. We might be able to turn around the tech radar with radical candor and a few other ideas. So it's something we want to be a part of and get real information out of instead of being pretty passive as it is today. I think we can improve the designs of our products, the development of our products, if we can be candid and not attack the people, care personally, but try to improve the idea. Our architecture, our processes, if we could be radically candid about that, we might be able to improve faster than seeing it over and over on base teams. I think we could reduce fear of feedback and embrace improvement. You know, we all naturally kind of resist feedback. It makes sense. But I think together we could overcome that and be a culture that loves improvement and loves that feedback. And lastly, I think we could grow faster than ever. I know people here that have said they've never really received career feedback their entire life. What if you could get that every day in small bits and pieces from people that care personally about you? How much could we grow? How quickly could we grow? If you're interested in Radical Candor, I'm going to give you a few steps that she has from the book and how to get started. First, ask for feedback. Ask people around you for feedback. Ask for their criticisms. And then start to take action on it. This is about growth. This is about improvement. Act on that. Grow yourself. But also, when you act on the feedback you get, it encourages more feedback. People will see they do care about my feedback. They did listen. They acted on it. It encourages more feedback. But don't dish it out until you can take it. Feel what that's like to get frequent, immediate criticism, and understand what it's like to act on that before you start dishing that out to everybody. Once you do, give more praise than criticism. We can learn from praise. Praise is specific. You did X to accomplish Y. We can learn from it. Try to shoot for a 3-to-1 ratio. Praise people 3 times as much as you criticize them. If you get bad feedback, don't criticize the feedback. Praise them for being candid. If it's coming from a place of caring personally, there might be more to that feedback than you realize in the moment. So think about it. But ultimately, you want that feedback to continue. So praise them. Thank you for being candid with me. If it's bad feedback, it's okay. You'll get better feedback later. And lastly, don't accept lack of criticism. People will not want to criticize you. We feel uncomfortable. They're going to say, no, you did a really good job. Keep it up. Push it. Challenge them. Ask for more criticism and embrace the silence. Ask them, how could I be more effective? And wait. That's all I got. I made it under time. That's exciting. If lunch is here, we can talk about questions over lunch. Otherwise, I have a little bit of time. But Radical Candor is the book for Monday. So even if you haven't read it and you want to talk about this or the other topics I talked about, come Monday and have a discussion. Thanks a lot, everybody.